What's the deal, y'all? It's Kali the One. If you are watching this, man, please like, subscribe, share. Thank you for the love, for the hate. It's all support. Also, if you are watching this, go ahead and go over to the Viral Way podcast. Like, subscribe, share. Keep us in the algorithm. Help us keep the movement moving. Without further ado, I want to get into the topic I got today. I got a couple of them, but first one I've been seeing been going viral all over Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. It is about James and Fuhad, which are two members of the Shits and Gigs podcast. So they have a podcast that I believe is UK based, where they talk about a multitude of things. But they have a very big Black women support group due to some of the things that they have said about Black women, positive things, their support of Black women, etc. So and just overall, I believe they have a good fan base when it comes to Black Americans. We support that podcast. So recently, Shits and Gigs, James and Fuhad went over to the Flagrant podcast, which you know is with Andrew Scholes, and I forget the other two dudes' names, but they went over there and they had a conversation where some racist jokes or, jokes with a racist undertone were said. They didn't defend it, and now, people are upset. People are pissed, Black women specifically. And so I want to, show y'all the video, and then I'm going to give y'all my thoughts. Right, here we go. That's Tyla shit. Start from like right here.
Feel about that?
I'm here for it, bro.
I'm here for the multicultural.
Really?
Yeah,
Black
man.
girlfriend effect.
Yeah.
You're
into that.
Yeah, she came in.
What's the Black girlfriend? They just come in and start fighting?
Nah, bro. You guys don't know about the Black girlfriend effect. She just
wait. What is the Black girlfriend effect?
Oh, you don't know about
just blow up the other culture.
Yeah, so you'll see a guy who's had a Black girlfriend. All of a sudden, he's got buzz cut, like clean shape up.
Glows
up, bro.
I like that.
I like that.
They shave their hair because they start losing it.
Because they're so stressed being around this Black girl complaining about shit all the fucking time. That's why they gotta shave their hair.
Nah, bro. White guys with Black girlfriends,
they grow a beard because there's more cushion when they get slapped the fuck out of.
That's hilarious.
I think the Black girlfriend effect. It might be a protective instinct, bro.
You think?
Protective. Yeah. Do you guys have you ever had Black girlfriends?
Yeah.
Have you ever had white girls?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. What's your favorite?
We love them all.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
We love them all.
Yeah. That means white.
Yo, who gets
that means white.
Hey, let me get a US translation.
Kendrick fans,
Okay. Let's get into it. And my humble opinion right now, how I feel about it, James and Fuhad are in a bad spot. They're from the UK. I don't think they expected. I don't know if they watched this show before. So I think that was the first mistake. I don't know if they watched this show before. If you've watched Flagrant, if you watch Andrew Scholes stand up and just, any of his interviews, he likes to push the envelope. He likes to have some jokes that some people would consider, to have racial undertones. Hey, it is what it is. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. There's a place for that in comedy. People love it. If you don't, again, you don't have to watch it. But that is something that he does. So I don't know if the Shits and Gigs podcast was privy to that. I don't know if they knew that. But I think they wish they would have known that. Because to me, in my opinion, James and Fuhad, while they're very funny, that's really not their speed. They don't have that political rhetoric, sort of racial, type of banter with each other. I feel like that's something that Flagrant does, and they do it well here and there when they do it. But what I'm going to get into right now is how I feel like the situation went, you know what I mean, and how it could have went better. In my opinion, everybody needs to take some blame up there, not just James and Fuhad. James and Fuhad, the reason why they need to take some blame up there is because obviously they're Black men. We already as Black women, Black people don't always have the strongest representations of us. We don't always have people checking people that say stuff about us in rooms because maybe we're the only person in there. So we look the other way or we turn the other cheek because we don't want the repercussions that comes with being the only person in the room that looks like you and then speaking out, in favor or against whatever is trying to come against you. So I think with that being said, you know, and the platform that they have, that was a very, you know, that was a very pivotal time where they could have said something and they didn't. They laughed it off. I also want to bring in, you know, how men joke around. You guys see tweets all the time, I'm sure, or memes. If the group chat got leaked, you know, we all going to jail. That's not just one group of men. That's a lot of group of men that joke that way. So some of our banter can be very raunchy, very vulgar. And so I think in the moment, they didn't want to turn it too serious and over serious it out. Even though I get what everybody's saying on a deeper level, this guy, because this isn't the first time Andrew Schultz has had some sort of racial undertone to, you know what I mean, his jokes and his comedy and how he feels about the black community. So not the first time and it won't be the last. But I think that they, in that moment, due to, you know, how men banter, didn't want to serious it out and then maybe switch the whole vibe of the podcast. So I think there was that. But I also think there's something that y'all just don't understand and that black women need to understand about James and Fuhad and the Shits and Gig podcast. These guys are from the UK. Point blank. These guys are from the UK. They're not from the USA, so they don't share the same experiences as we do as black Americans. While we may have some similarities on a Venn diagram from blacks in the UK compared to blacks in America, I would say that there's still some differences within it, right? And I think one of the main ones is the way that we perceive history. You know, I think black people in the UK don't perceive history through the eyes of slavery and oppression and racism and fighting for your rights. I do not believe that they perceive it that way compared to black Americans. That's the way we perceive America. We and also just the UK compared to America. The UK is not as patriotic, point blank to begin with, compared to to America, right? Like we fight for whatever it is, whether it's people storming Capitol Hill, which if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. From people fighting for their rights and sit-ins, for LGBTQ plus protesting. So we're a country that fights for what we want and what we believe in. So we automatically, I feel like, have more of a political ideology and more of a, you know, awareness about politics and race and prejudice than a black person from the UK. And so I think where black women and black people are being naive is expecting James and Fuhad from the Shits and Gigs podcast to understand all the nuance within that and then be able to act accordingly. Now, it doesn't make them any less wrong for not speaking up or saying nothing, but it does give us a view into where their upbringing is, what it was, and how it differs from ours. A lot of us, where our culture and what we've been through as a culture and a community on our shoulders and as a chip on our shoulders. And that's how we present within the world. I mean, America in general is more race-based, right? And I'm sure the UK is as well. But just our unique experience as black Americans in the United States of America is completely different. So who's to say if there's a black man up there, they might not say something different or act a different way or check him or whatever the case is, right? So I think while James and Fuhad, they should have said something, there's many reasons as to why they didn't. I don't think they should be killed for it. But I think the number one thing is they're just not from the USA, and they possibly could have just not cared. They could have just not seen it as racial as what they did. But they did eventually say something a little bit within the video about him having racial undertones. But again, the clip that went viral, it doesn't do him justice. But I don't think they should be killed for it. I just think it is what it is. Second person that I want to give accountability to is the black dude that sits there. So the black dude that's sitting from the far left to the screen, he needs accountability because black people like him further than ignorance and the white person like Andrew Schultz who believes that because they have black friends, they're able to do X, Y, and Z. Right? I've seen this black dude, and I don't know his name, and no disrespect to you. You're making your money, do what you do. But I've seen him here multiple times in multiple instances where Andrew Schultz has said something that may push the envelope, that may seem a certain way towards black Americans, and that guy's either sat there and giggled or not said nothing at all. So when you have that type of black person around, again, I do not know him personally, but from what I see on the show, when you have that type of black person around that's not going to check anything, then the ignorance grows. I'm all for everybody having interracial relationships, being friends with everybody. But your job as a Black American, in my opinion, if you have white friends, Asian friends, Mexican friends, is to educate them when there's bumps in the road within your, with your culture. Because if you have friends like that from different races and y'all are good friends, there will come a point in time where you guys don't see eye to eye on something, or they see something differently. And if you understand your sort of, I feel like, unspoken duty, it's to educate your homeboys if they're a different race about, hey man, this might have not came off the right way. You maybe could have said this better, even if at points or at times it might serious it out, or it might be like, come on, you know what I mean? And vice versa, if you're, Latino or Asian or whatever the case is, it's your job to check your friends and to give them that awareness about your culture so that they don't go out in the world and make a bad example of you, really, and make you look like a fool. Because when you look at Andrew Schulz and the way he acts and some of the things he says, it's like that reflects on the homies he has that are Black, because they're obviously letting him get off with this shit. You saying this type of shit in public, and you have a certain undertone about things. That's you. You know what I mean? That's your Black homeboys. That's Charlemagne the God and whoever else you be kicking it with that let that get off. You know what I mean? So that's a reflection, a direct reflection of his Black homeboys. So I think the Black dude to the far left, he has accountability too, because he's a part of the reason why bro feels like he's able to do what he does. Okay, we got the one Black dude in the room, so if anything, we do say it, and if he's cool with it, then that'll sort of blanket, other statements or feelings possibly from, getting out of hand. So I think that's why he's there to a certain degree. And finally, Andrew Schulz. I think Andrew Schulz, I put him in the same box as Michael Rappaport, right? They're the white guy who has a couple of Black friends that, they think because their experiences with their Black friends are X, Y, and Z, they then go and take those experiences and apply them to all Black people in the world. And so, they think that therefore they got 5 Black friends, 3 Black friends at home, that they then have a Black card to go around, speak on Black culture, joke about Black culture, have a certain attitude towards Black culture, due to the people that they know. Meanwhile, the people you're presenting yourself to, which is the rest of the culture, we don't know you. We don't know who you are. We have no idea what you come from. So the way you walk in this, you need to walk accordingly. And so I think he's the person who says, well, I have a Black friend so I can say the N-word, or I have a Black friend so they wouldn't care about it, so why do you care about it? You know what I mean? Which is just ignorance. And it shows, honestly, the disrespect and the disregarding he could possibly have for Black Americans, because if you have Black homeboys, you would know not all of them are completely the same. And so you would not necessarily do what you do, and you would understand that you can't get certain shit off maybe with your group that you can with other groups. That's just what it is. So you need to overall respect that. But I put him in the same box as Michael Rappaport because they're loudmouths, right? Like, they speak a lot about on the culture, and they get a pass because of some of the Black, prominent figures that they bump shoulders with and rub shoulders with. But really, if you look at shows, we wouldn't be listening to him if it wasn't for Charlemagne the God. Wouldn't be listening to him. I'll admit that Flagrant, it has been doing its thing, but we wouldn't listen to him if it wasn't for Charlemagne. And so, those type of cosigns, I feel like it goes to people like Michael Rappaport, it goes to people like Andrew Schulz, their head, and they don't act accordingly. So it's like, I could do whatever I want, and then a lot of times what these comedians will do is they will, hide behind the, hey, this is comedy. You know what I mean? I'm not racist. I'm not prejudiced. I'm not misogynistic. This is comedy. This is what it is. And while that can be true, there's some truth to every joke you tell. So if you have a consistent track record of being a certain way on the mic, on camera, on interviews, and then to a certain degree, we can't just sit up here and say that's just content, or just hide behind the comedic aspect of it, because that's not necessarily true. So I think that all 3 parties have to, have some sort of accountability here. James and Fuhad, because y'all shouldn't have went on there anyway. That's not y'all. That's not y'all bad whatsoever. Y'all should have stayed on a little, girl podcast, and you know what I mean. Maybe, I don't know, Aiden Ross, something like that. Y'all should have stayed on that end of it. Nowhere where people are having on people like Billy Carson, and they might have Donald Trump on, or other politicians. You know what I mean? They have people that are going to be a certain way. That's not really their bag to me. More of a right wing watching podcast, in my opinion. Black dude, you need accountability just because you've been sitting there for years getting a paycheck and you never said that, so you never put your culture on the line. And number three, Andrew Scholes, you just need to understand that, you know, there's limits to this and there's levels to this and there's boundaries to it. And just because you have bumped or rubbed shoulders with some Black prominent figures, it doesn't give you the right to speak on certain things a certain way. So that's really all I got to say about that situation. Moving on to Tyla. So as y'all know, Tyla, she just won a VMA. I really don't know what it's for. I'm not really here to speak on a VMA. I'm just here to speak on a video and, you know, the disconnect between Black Americans and African Americans that I've been seeing online for some time now. But whenever there's something like this that happens, it really, really shows. So see where we at. All right, here we go.
I'm not strong enough. Yes, yes.
This is the only part I want to watch.
And holding awards. I'm not strong enough. Yes, yes. Oh, jij bent over me. Yes, thank you. I'm sorry. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. Firstly,
Let me rewind that a little bit.
You guys know me and holding awards. I'm not strong enough. Yes, yes. Oh, jij bent over me. Yes, thank you. I'm sorry. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. Firstly, thank you. Thank you, my Tigers. Thank you, MTV, my team, God, everyone.
Okay. Way I feel about that right there was, so a lot of people are saying, you know, she doesn't respect Black American culture. What I will say about Tyla is she's definitely not accustomed to our culture, right? This is what I will say. On the Breakfast Club interview, when she had the chance to, you know, explain things, I think she didn't. And although I understand the colored definition in South Africa and how, you know, that is over there, I think that she has to understand that due to her being in, I would say, R&B, hip hop culture, and obviously, you know, your phenotype, how you look, is Black. You need to, you know, still provide explanations for Black Americans because they're looking at you like, hey, you know, when it's all said and done, people are kind of grouping you in with Black hip hop and R&B culture. So even if you are making Afro beats and things of that nature, people are looking at you as Black presenting. So when you go on a Breakfast Club and you ignore any questions about you being colored or things of that nature, it looks to us like, okay, you don't really care about explaining to the culture that buys your records to a certain degree what you meant by that and clearing that up. So you don't really, you know, it gives you the look of you don't really care about your fans or your Black American fans. So I could completely understand to a certain degree from that aspect. From the VMA aspect, I mean, if you are somebody who is in your feelings and you're insecure and you're a moody bitch, then maybe that would make you upset if she asked you to hold the award. Obviously, at that point in time, she's a small girl. She's standing up there with an award. It's her time to shine. I don't think Lil Nas X or Haley Bailey thought anything about it, but I do think the internet ripped it up just due to, again, the Black American and African American feud that we be having here and there. It's interesting to me because she got the uppity African tag, and I think that, you know, in our cultures, Black Americans have grown up listening to certain stereotypes about African Americans, you know, seeing certain things play out within our cultures, whether that be in real life or movies, TV, whatever the case is, however we've been fed, that when we get to a certain age and something like this happens with Tyla, it's easy for us to go ahead and say, oh, she's an uppity African, because that's already the subconscious programming that's in our mind. So when we see something like that, it automatically affirms what we've been really taught to believe the whole entire time. I'm not saying there's not uppity Africans out there, but you should judge everybody based off of them, not, you know, grouping everybody in. So I think for us to kind of be giving her that tag is crazy when she hasn't done anything to really say that. What I will say again is if you want to, be in this culture, you're going to have to keep your head high and answer some of these tough questions. She's done it one time. I'm giving her, one more time to see if she'll go ahead and speak up if it ever comes up again. At that point, then we can judge her a little bit harsher. But right now, it's all speculation, man. So I think that's what that is. Now, when it comes to African Americans and how they view Black Americans, I think there's been a lot of propaganda that has been fed to all cultures across the seas and over the world about us, making us look like monsters and villains and drug addicts and just gangsters and pimps and hoes, right? Where people come over here and they assume that Black Americans are dumb, lazy, they stink, they don't know what they're doing. And, I think that more than any other culture, Africans, when they come to America, they really don't want to be associated with us at times due to the stereotypes that they've heard. So you have to think of it from, their mind. If I'm coming over here to better myself and I look like y'all to a certain degree, I'm going to get grouped in automatically. What I know from being over here about you guys is you guys are X, Y, and Z. None of it sounds good. So when I come to America, I want to put as much of a barrier as I can in between us so that Whitey understands that, hey, I'm not like them, because I know what y'all saying about them and I know what y'all do to them. I'm not like them. Now, where, African Americans go wrong for that is y'all are like us, right? We all come from the same sort of bloodline. And we all, if you were to get pulled over, you know what I mean? They wouldn't know anything. They're going to treat you the same way. Police going to treat you the same way. The law is going to treat you the same way. The system is going to treat you the same way. How you react to it, completely up to you. But you're still going to be grouped in with us. So the ignorance that Africans have at times where it's like, if I, put this barrier in between our cultures and things of that nature, then I'm going to have it better, you know what I mean? Or I'm going to be able to, have it better than these Black Americans. And so Africans are fed stereotypes about us as well that they go ahead and pop out that you'll see on Twitter. People will be, talking about we're very egotistic as Black Americans and we think everything's about us and we think we created everything. And all of these things that they say, meanwhile, again, these are things that we have learned from the negatives of both sides spewing into our children's ears. So I think it's something that needs to stop. I think people say, oh, it's only on Twitter. It's in real life too, because you have, Black people who will say stuff like, oh, Africans stink. Let's keep it 100. You've heard that before. They make noises at them and you know what I mean? Stuff like that. They say they scammers and shit like that. You got African Americans who think Black Americans, like I said, are dumb, don't know nothing. Sometimes they don't want their kids even listening to rap, having long hair like dreads. They want to put a barrier in between that. So both sides are guilty of sort of having this negative viewpoint of each other, and it only comes out in moments like this. But the key is for us to be together and bond together because we all Black, or we're all from whatever we are, whatever you want to call it, African, Black. We're all from sort of the same blood, and we should work together instead of go apart. And so again, I think with the Tyla situation, take it by face value. I don't think she meant no harm. I think people should stop kicking her back in. I think, it is what it is. She asked somebody to hold something, they held it, and that's it. I don't think it should go further than that. Everybody who is engagement farming for Black Americans and African Americans, y'all need to stop. It should be one love, one pride, one movement, and that's how it should really go. And so that's how I feel about it, man. But without further ado, if you guys are watching this again, please like, subscribe. Thank you for the love, for the hate. It's all support. If you're also watching this, make sure you head over to the Viral Way podcast. Go tap in with those guys, man. Tap in with us. Like, subscribe, share, run us up, keep us in the algorithm, keep the movement moving. I don't know where y'all are going. We just got to get the hell up out of here.